Yo, what's up, my swaggers? First and foremost, I'm sick. Second of all, I'm using guyzz Paint X on my laptop. This is the fully paid version. No, you can't get the free version. You have to fully pay it since I use Microsoft. So, there's that. First up, we're picking a color. I'm using brown because I legit couldn't think of like any other color, and also I just didn't feel like using a gray color. I thought, no, you guys need a little bit of melanin, you know, not melatonin, Jesus Christ. Yeah, or whatever the term is. At this point, I don't know. It's like 4 in the morning when I'm recording this, and this whole thing is like 10 minutes long. Good gravy. Now, this is something that I would love to inform y'all. If you're a beginner artist, always use a grayscale or a thumbnail drawing, or use something that does not revolve regular colors. Now, the reason why I'm telling new beginners this and not my pros is because, like, you guys need to understand where shading, lighting, and reflective lighting is coming from. Because you guys, I love y'all, but some of y'all, when y'all draw, your drawings can look kind of bland, and I guess shading can look a bit iffy at times. But don't worry, y'all, I got y'all covered. I'm probably gonna add like a drawing of like the thing that I'm working on. Also, sorry for whatever reason if I like cough during my recording. Again, I'm still kind of sick and my voice is still kind of going. It's 4 in the morning and I'm drinking a Pepsi and eating chocolate. So yeah, currently I am adding a warm color for the shading. Now, normally I don't really do this. I do shade like this at times, but only with skin. I will never do this with fur, because if I try to do it with fur, it has to be one solid color. Like my OC Doodle, I can do it with her because she's just primarily one solid color. If I try to do it with anything else, I'm not going to be able to do it. And that's where I usually just use the multiplier or linear burn or color burn for it. I never use darker. But yeah, normally I would go for like a warm color. And again, I only do this if I know what I'm drawing. If my colors are going to be on the colder side and I'm using a cold background, then you're going to get a more like a cool color, a cool darker color. And another thing is, for anybody who is still struggling, please, I beg you to mess around with your layers. I'm sorry, but like, mess around with your layers. Use darker colors, use lighter colors on top of your base colors, and move around with your blending mode and opacity. Because if you don't, then you are going to be sitting here for like 10 hours confused on why you cannot figure out some colors. And as of right now, I am using a lighter, darker color still, because I think it's necessary to add that. But yeah, I was stupid at some point, because when I first started doing this and I first learned this trick, instead of me being the normal goober that I was when I was making this, I would actually just, draw the darker color and then use a lighter color on a different layer, but not in this way. I would like legit just use like whatever hard brush I was using and do it that way. I would like do it manually, because I would use the bucket tool because I was too lazy. But now I don't do it like that, and because honestly, it's more or less of a pain to try to do it like that nowadays. So yeah, don't do what I do half the time. To this part, I'm adding a bit of color, and again, this is just a me thing. I like adding the specific colors like these because it just gives the drawing more of like a nice color to it, especially if you want your parts of drawing to pop off a bit. And also because I just like doing it like this. Normally I would use blue, but again, I'm using warm colors, so we're going with a more pink tone because I feel it's necessary. And again, please don't do this if you do not want to. This is just my tips and advice of what I want if whatever I'm trying to help you with. So yeah. And so please don't follow on what I do. Now for this part, I do actually lower my opacity. For this stage, I never mess around with the blending mode, simply because I don't really like to mess around with it too much. And yeah, so that part is done. Now this part, I'm adding my lighting, and I always go back to my base color, no matter what. And I always mess around with the color wheel, or the scroll wheel. I don't know, whatever you use at this point. At this point, y'all could just be using like dark magic or whatever to pick out the colors. Yeah. I know some artists like to actually put down their colors first, or like put the colors off to the side. I don't do that anymore. I used to, but for me it's too much of a hassle. It's way too much of a hassle. Unless I know, I only do it if like I'm like doing like a major rendering thing, like I got like over 100 layers rendering it. But yeah. So this part, I'm just adding my normal lighting, or whatever the tone is. I don't know at this point. And I'm not having like any form of like any form of like direction of where I'm aiming it. Well, I guess I am. Maybe it's to the left. I don't know, bro. I don't know. But yeah. Also another thing that could help you is drawing a circle and then an arrow of like where you want like the lighting to go off of. That will also be helpful. I would hate, and again, I would hate for any new beginners to try to do what I am currently doing without a plan, or without making a bunch of thumbnails and then going off of that one thumbnail that they finally liked and enjoy. But yeah, as you can see, I'm adding a bit more lighting to this because fun, and I just kind of don't want it to look bland. And here's the thing, I will never in a day of my life put all of this on one layer. I've seen artists who would draw everything on one layer. I mean, not one layer, but like multiple layers, and then merge it all down. And you guys terrify me. Anyways, enough with that. I'm adding the airbrush for this. Now, normally I'm using the airbrush simply because I kind of don't like the blending, the blur. I don't like the blur in Ibis Paint. Never did. Not even when I was using it on mobile. But yeah, this part normally gives the reflection more of like a pop. And as you can also see, I am not adding any form of blush. It's that in on itself I never do, and when I do it, I don't do it as much. Even yeah. And for this part, I'm just adding a bit of extra to it because as much as I love how it looks, I just like adding more and more until I start screaming and crying because I added way too much and I gotta lower the opacity to some of the stuff. And this part, I always put whatever blend or shading or whatever on add because I feel like it is necessary. And yeah, this part, I'm just like adding a gradient effect to it. I always do this, but because Ibis Paint doesn't really have, I mean, it technically does have a gradient thing on here, but I just don't really like using it. Yeah, I'm doing this manually. And I know my art will kind of seem like everybody else's art, but that's primarily because I'm using Ibis Paint and not Clip Studio, because I was low-key just, I didn't feel like zooming in. I honestly didn't feel like zooming in. Plus, we love Ibis Paint. I'm Ibis Paint's baby girl, real quick. I'm Ibis Paint baby's girl. But I am bound to Clip Studio. Bound to Clip Studio, because Clip Studio is my parent at this point, bruh. No, scratch that. Clip Studio is my boyfriend, and Ibis Paint is my parent. Because I've been with Ibis Paint for the longest time. Then it was Metabang. Metabang is my sibling, okay? Then Fire Alpaca. Fire Alpaca is that one forgotten sibling, but that's okay. Greta, you alright. You alright. But that's my personal opinion. As you can currently see now, I'm trying to add a bit more to it. I didn't want to at first, but yeah. Because, like, I just realized, I was like, oh, I kind of jacked it up a bit. So, yeah. Lol on that. Yeah. For this part, I don't really know what I'm doing. But, yeah. this is just how I render, guys. I really do hope y'all enjoyed this, and if not, oh well, my bad. Follow, like, subscribe, and give me more tips.